All right, welcome to a long-awaited MMA fight game podcast episode. We have been chasing this killer athlete, Kaiden the Hunter, my nickname, the problem child, because he's a problem in the MMA cage, Ellis, who's currently 4-0. He is fighting at the massive Rage in the Cage 28 on March 29th, 2025 at the mighty and legendary Tim Hortons Iceplex. He is also defending his FCP 145-pound featherweight MMA title for the very first time against a very game opponent in Tomas Laredo, who is currently 2-1. Kaiden, I've been chasing you forever to get you on a call. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Long time no talk. The champ is in the house. How does that sound that you have champion on the side of your name?
It sounds good, but it sounds better once it's UFC champion.
Okay. Yeah, we
Go.
we were talking offline. I was out at the UFC this past weekend for 313 Pereira versus Ankalaev. And at the weigh-ins, I ran into the UFC matchmaker Mick Maynard, and I was having a conversation with him. Obviously, hyping our squad up, all our athletes on the card, and there's definitely UFC interest because my I was looking at him. I wasn't seeing what he was doing, but my friend said that he was listening very intently, writing things down about all the athletes that I was mentioning, you being one of them, and everybody else that's on the card. So there is definitely some UFC interest. What would be getting into the UFC mean to you after a successful AMI career?
Um, Getting into the UFC is means everything to me. Obviously, it won't be the end goal. Like, I don't want to just go to the UFC. I want to go to the UFC and dominate, just like I'm doing right now. I mean, it's the same thing, same goal. Like, no matter who's across me, what promotion I'm on, it's just to dominate.
Yeah, and getting right into it, going back to this summer at the Attica Takedown too. You were definitely an underdog, but people that knew you knew that you had that ice in your veins. You have that dog, that killer mentality in you to take the challenge of facing an Uber prospect in Mason Lewis. Seeing you before the fight, you were kind of in that back room at the picnic table, kind of just honed in, zeroed in on the job at task. You're a cerebral athlete, especially in the cage. That night, what was like going through your head? What were the emotions? And lastly, like what was the game plan going into that bout?
That I remember that night a lot. I also remember when it started raining really bad. I almost thought for a second like the fights were gonna have to stop, or I don't know, take a big old break because they did for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the biggest preparation for that camp was obviously the wrestling. Mason being the good wrestler he is, and one thing that really stuck in mind with me is like my boy Karam. He told me like way before the fights, like months out. He's like when you wake up that night, doesn't matter if you're feeling it or not. You gotta be fucking feeling it. Like it doesn't matter. Like that time is yours. And you have to own it. So that's what I did.
Yeah, and you saying that Mason's a wrestler. You're no slouch wrestler either. Obviously, you're completing your first year at Elmira College
Mm-hmm.
as part of their wrestling team. How did your season go? And obviously, competing at a college level, not many people can do that. Have you picked up some new things at the college level that you are going to take into your MMA game as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like here I've just really dialed in on like my top control, really just keeping that pressure of all time, making sure that you can't get up. Like I've had several matches this season where I've had almost 2 minutes over ride time. I'll just turn you, tilt you.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
the season, like, uh, wish I was able to go a little more, but ended up being able to all state. I was a New York State all state collegiate wrestler, which is a big deal, a
Oh
huge.
yeah.
That's against it's not just D3 schools. It's D3, D2, D1, JUCO. It's all the schools in New York State at one tournament.
Yeah, that's amazing. And obviously, you were coached by two amazing camps, two amazing coaches. Obviously, Justin Walker of Redemption MMA, but then in college season, wrestling season, your college wrestling coach is also your MMA coach in the OG in John Frenchie. Had for this camp, have you worked with both coaches? Or have you worked exclusively with Frenchie? How's that dynamic work?
I've been working with both. I mean, like while I'm here right now on campus during the week, I'll be
Yep.
getting with Franchi and his guys at the gym. Thankful for that. And then when I'm able to go home on the weekends and sometimes during the week if I have time for classes and shit, I'll go back home and train with Justin, Ryan, Karam, Marty, the guys, Redemption.
Yeah, like obviously, I've coached CrossFit for many years. I always encourage my athletes to, get different looks, different cues from other coaches. Do you feel that now that you've had that experience, obviously working with your OG team with Redemption MMA, Justin Walker and the squad there, and
Mm-hmm.
now John Frenchie, do you think you're more well-rounded because of that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it just gives me, even just working with Franchi of how knowledge of the game he has for it. He's been around it for so long. He's a pioneer to the sport, truly a pioneer.
That
Like, I picked up a lot from him already.
Yeah, that is, you mentioned he's a pioneer. If people haven't had a chance, he had a classic war of a fight with Cub Swanson back at the World Extreme Cage Fighting Days, WEC. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, that's how OG that coach is, John Frenchie. Um, Obviously, you're defending your title for the first time against the 2-1 Tomas Laredo. At March 29th at the legendary Tim Hortons Iceplex behind MCC. What are your expectations going into that night?
Going into that night, I expect a fist fight like every other night. Once I walk in that cage and the doors close, there's no turning around, no going back. Just toe to toe, we throw down.
Yeah, and we were talking offline, and like the 10 MMA bouts that are there, any one of you guys could headline a card on
Mm-hmm.
your own. You don't need it. What does it mean? Like, this is like, I keep pushing this. This is probably the most talented FCP card ever. I thought December was huge, which it was. It was massive. But then we come here. Now I'm saying that I think this card is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, amateur mixed martial arts cards in North America in a long, long time. What does that mean? And like being around all that talent, what does that do to you for you?
I feel that just like like to say, pressure is a privilege. Like you can't back away or shy away from it at all. That's what I asked for. Like I know at the end of the day, the lights are just gonna get brighter. Stages is just gonna get brighter. Like it's what I asked for, and I'm thankful for it at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're anticipating a big crowd, legendary arena that's seen many concerts, many hockey games, things like that. But this will probably be the biggest, besides the UFC, this will probably be the biggest mixed martial arts event in Rochester, New York history. Um, and then, you have a ton of teammates on the card, going with Redemption MMA and also going with Fifth Round Fitness with John Frenchie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you, I want just one word. I want you to describe each teammate to me. Uh, and the first one being Emily Dallas.
Emily Ellis, she's she's really dialed in. Like she's a hard worker to her craft. Really, she's
Okay.
dialed in her craft.
Chase Dudlin.
Chase, he's a dog. He's a scrapper. He's a really good wrestler as well. Like really good wrestler.
Yeah, he's another one that I think he's going to have his coming out party on March 29th. He's fighting an OG and Dan Baker Herder. But Dan, don't let Dan's record fool you. That dude's a dog,
Mm-hmm.
and you put in two dogs in the cage. it's gonna be a fantastic matchup. And then Marty McFly McCulligan.
He's a superhero.
All right. The OG, the veteran, the mom, the beautiful Carolyn Hode.
she's she's the pioneer. She's a pioneer out of all of us right now.
All right. Last but not least, and I know you mentioned his name before, the main event taking on Kenny Correa for the 185-pound FCP middleweight championship, Karam Ali.
He's gorilla.
Gorilla. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Before we wrap this up, is there anybody that like you want to thank? Any sponsors you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to family? I know you have a superhero of a girlfriend
Hmm.
that has your back, and you know they say behind every strong man, there's an equally stronger woman next to him on his side. She's definitely that because I've seen it myself personally, so I can vouch for that. Anything you want to say about any of that?
I mean, yeah. Well, 100%. I want to thank my family, my mom, my dad, my girlfriend, soon to be wife. I know for the future.
Okay.
Thankful for my team. Like this camp's definitely been a little different. Me being in college and these classes, but at the same time, like I took fights back in high school, so it's like it's no difference at the same time. Just honestly getting more work in, different looks, having a lot more bodies with me. Like I have my boy Milton. He's working with me on the team. A lot of people on the teams have been working with me. Like having the whole season wrestling. Like I'm in really good shape, coming off fresh. Like since the Mason fight, I've never stepped off the gas pedal. So
Yeah, you look lean in the camera, especially like in your face, in your head. Now I'm looking at it a little bit more, and I'm like, my man looks lean, and
yeah,
he looks like he's pretty much on weight right now for his title bout. Is that right?
yeah, I'm pretty close. Not quite, but I'm pretty close.
Yeah. And again, you're defending your title, the 145-pound featherweight title for the very first time, March 29th at the legendary Tim Hortons Iceplex. You are one of the featured bouts of the evening. Anybody watching this video, anybody that is tuning in, that is a fan of you, is a fan of mixed martial arts, needs to see you scrap because, like you said on the Instagram, you're not going to be an amateur much longer. You want to
Yeah.
be a UFC champion, and there might be only a couple more times that people can say they saw you at the amateur level before you go to before you're ready for that next level. I
Mhm.
can't wait to see you March 28th at the weigh-ins at the Iceplex, and then on March 29th, seeing you get to eat against Tomas Laredo. Kaiden,
Yeah,
I truly appreciate the time. Just sit tight, okay?
of course. Thank you.
Got it.